It's been a while since I think we've talked to you. When you recap Dylan's first year, what were the things that encouraged you the most as the season progressed, like the things that you thought he got better at?
Yeah, I think just the whole process in general, I was super excited about, obviously the expectations and what we wanted or needed him to do. And to be quite honest, he did a lot of that. As a true freshman, you lose sight of a lot of times, stepping in that environment and what that environment is. And for the things that he was able to accomplish was super, super positive, and think he can build upon it in the future. There were some ups and downs, obviously, which I thought he handled some of the low points. I thought he handled very well. He's been humble to learn from them and to get better from them. So, as you work through that process, the same thing's going to happen next year, right? And you can rely back on those experiences, how you handled them, and how not to handle them, or whatever the case may be.
I think the growth between the hesitations and the mistakes in that Indiana game, and then how he responded in the Ohio State game. How did you see him sort of adjust and grow in that? It was only a week time.
Right. And I think it's probably more just the confidence in himself, the confidence in the team. I would probably attribute to that. I'll never forget when we were in Atlanta one time, Matt Ryan, he threw 5 interceptions in one game, and it was just like, this. But the next game he just comes back and just slings it, and there's no hesitation. So I just kind of compliment to him and his confidence in himself and his ability and the teammates around him that he was able to step up and play again in that environment on the road and play well.
How did you characterize the transition to bringing in Coach Holgorsen at what was an unusual time in the middle of the season for you and your quarterbacks, both in November at that time and now through the beginning portions of this offseason?
Yeah, I think it probably in hindsight it was a blessing. I know he had spoke of the timing being unique, but we're so much ahead at this point than we would have been if he came in January, like I believe he spoke of. So it was a unique timing, like you said. It kind of came in the bye week, and there was some learning curve, not only from his end but from our end as far as expectation and trying to update him on some of the terminology and just what we were trying to get done, and then also vice versa, what he wanted to get done. So this has been a really, really good time for us to kind of get on the same page, same terminology, same thought process. So yes, in hindsight, it was a tough situation, but we're really benefiting from it right now.
How do you work it when you have guys like Raiola and Gramstad who know stuff so well, and then you're trying to bring Marcos and TJ along? As a coach, what's that challenge, or what's that like?
Well, I tell you, the exciting part of that is Dylan and Jalyn are so good at helping them. That makes it so much easier in the room. So, I'll try to speak to both sides of it. You want to try to speak to the highest, graduate level, if you will, as far as quarterback play, but also you want to, coach the details, but also the big coaching points. But when they can kind of intermingle and talk, amongst themselves, that makes life a lot easier for me. So I think the room is in a very, very good place that way, as far as each other helping each other.
What would you see as the level of importance in bringing in Davila, a transfer this offseason, and what does that allow you to do with the guys who are older than him and also with TJ?
Yeah, I think just he does have the experience. He comes from a little different system, so there's some learning curve that way. But just the experience in the room, I think, has been positive. He's been humble. People kind of pick his brain of other things that he's done, but just the depth in the room, I think, just brings competition and excitement as far as anybody's in there. He made some great plays today, matter of fact. And then TJ's in there, and it's just the standard of when you're in there, it's going to make a play, whether you're with the first team or the third team, whatever the case may be.
Is his skill set similar to Dylan's?
Yeah, he's a natural passer, right? He's not necessarily a dual threat guy, but he made some plays even today off schedule. So I think he has the flexibility to do that when needed. But yeah, he's a true passer.
You guys brought in a lot of new receivers, so there's a learning curve there. But at the same time, what are the positives of just some of the things those guys have maybe brought with their experience levels?
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about that is you kind of have both ends of the spectrum, right? You kind of have a couple new guys that are older with experience, and then you have some of the newer guys coming in that are trying to learn. And again, kind of like what we're talking about in the quarterback room, those guys helping each other learn, accelerate that learning process has been good. And it's been exciting because the quarterbacks are trying to be involved in that too, particularly with the young guys to try to get those guys going as fast as we can, because what a huge opportunity, these 4 or 5 months in spring to get them ahead and so they can really contribute in the fall. So I think it's exciting in the fact that you kind of have both ends of the spectrum, young and old, learning and getting melded into the offense.
Glenn, what specifically about having Jalyn in this room is important just for Dylan to be around and kind of have someone to learn from?
Well, obviously he's the experience. He's kind of the older guy in the room, had success before he came here, but his personality is infectious. He's very humble, very competitive. He's liked, from the offense, from the defense. Everybody loves what he's doing, what he stands for. So he brings a lot of things to the table that way, man. And this spring's important for him. You lose sight. Even us as coaches, we lose sight. Sometimes he didn't even get here till the spring of last summer, right? So he was kind of learning the offense, kind of from behind even during the spring. So, we've talked about the importance of the bowl practice for him and how he was able to accelerate his learning process. And then this spring, we're looking for, another big step as far as his role in that room.
What do you think he stands for? He said the guys understand what he stands for. With a guy like Jalyn who came from the NAIA level and maybe wants to get into coaching, like what do you, in your view, does he stand for out there?
Just the competitiveness and want to do it right. You know what I mean? I think he's one of the most competitive guys out there. He wants to include everybody. He has no ego, very humble, wants to learn, wants to help. He's the truest form of a teammate, I would say.
How do you challenge Dylan to run more at times when there's 3 yards to take? Is that something? Is that an emphasis or a goal for you guys right now?
I wouldn't say it's a goal. I think it's probably more just the mentality of what they're giving you. I think there were instances where he probably could have, and there's probably instances where he did that he shouldn't have. After the season, I went back and made a cut up. I don't know, 400 plays or something like that, and tried to put them into buckets. Hey, good progression, poor progression, bad ball security. You know what I mean? Just try to lump them all together. And there were instances where we probably thought he could have ran a little bit more, and there are instances maybe where he wasn't great in the pocket or whatever the case may be. So I think it's not necessarily a goal to do that. I think it's just more if that's available, take it, or vice versa.
What makes a good 2-minute quarterback, and how can that get better, not only for him, but the whole operation?
It's just playmaking, right? At the end of the day, Coach has talked a lot about just routine plays. A lot of times in a 2-minute setting, there's just basic routine plays. Again, going back to taking what the defense is giving you. That might be a check down. That might be utilizing your leg. That might be off schedule, passing game. So I think it's a matter of just understanding the situation, what the defense is giving you, and how to react to it.
Hindsight being 2020, did he have enough guys open downfield in those situations last year? And is that a picture that might change here in the upcoming season?
I probably wouldn't lump that into one answer, but I think it's learning experience for all of us. That and each of those is different, right? Each of those 2 minutes is different, whether it be the timing situation, what the defense is showing you. Whatever the case may be, I think every situation is totally different. So, as you approach those and you study those, not only as a coach but as a player, you can, dissect it for what it was and learn from it based on that situation.
It can be tough to lead as a true freshman. Do you see that advanced leadership in Dylan now and maybe more comfort in his skin in that aspect?
Yeah, it's, obviously a year past, he's just a different stage in his process at this point. There's a familiarity with obviously scheme. There's a familiarity with, just what's happening around him. So we're super excited about that. And that allows him to, maybe grow in some other areas like that. So I think he's in a great place and excited about his humility to be better, his excitement and intensity to be better. I think all those are in a great place right now.
What dynamic does TJ Lateef bring to the room and to the field?
I think just the eagerness to learn and get better. Again, he's a mid-year enrollee, and this is a lot of new stuff. Obviously, a big environment. But he's super proactive to learn. He's spending extra time in the meeting rooms. He's right behind me in practice, literally every play, asking questions, going through the motions, trying to get those visual reps. So I'm excited about just his aggressiveness to learn and be a part of it.
Do you think his high school prepared him in a way that made him ready to get here? He played for a very good program.
Yeah. He's obviously played against a high caliber of team for a long time. So, that nothing but helps, I would think. Yeah.
When asked what his biggest quality he looks for in a quarterback was, Kirby Smart, instead of answering protect the football, that sort of thing, said he wants a guy who can make something happen on third down when there's nothing there. How much of that freelancing do you guys work on?
I think there's an element to that, but I think that probably happens after maybe the play breaks down. I mean, based on coverage or whatever the case may be, as far as the route, we want to work that piece of it first, and then if something, goes astray, then I think there's more of a freelancing mentality. But I think there's a fine line of freelancing before the play develops. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think you want to cross that line, but there is definitely the element, there's some great ones, at a lot of levels that, once the element of the play is gone, then you'd freelance. Yeah, for sure. And I think we're in a great place with that. We had a couple, again, off-schedule passing. That's kind of what we talk about that way. And, it's something we continue to talk about. The old Bill Parcells, analogy, that's the first trick play of a game is a scramble drill. So, that's definitely an element we talk about and work on and try to practice and perfect.
Anything else?
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.